It's Monday, the 23rd of March from the MEN newsroom. This is Channel M's Lunchtime News, and these are today's headlines. Failing its pupils, a top grammar school in Stretford is put into special measures after a damning report by Ofsted. Also this lunchtime, feeling good, the things that make you proud about your part of Manchester.
I'm proud that we've got a good community in Burnage. We all work together.
And what were goblins and dragons doing in Bolton town centre?
Hello, I am Goblin Queen. I come from land of Gobley. We come to human land to find me nice human husband.
Good afternoon. First this lunchtime, a top school in Greater Manchester has been put into special measures after becoming the first grammar school in the country judged to be failing its pupils. Stretford Grammar School's leadership and management have been severely criticised in a report by Ofsted. Last year, it was one of the best performing schools in Trafford, with 95% of its pupils getting at least 5 A-star to C grades in their GCSEs. But inspectors say it's now failing to provide an adequate education for its 755 students. In a damning report issued following last month's inspection, inspectors say the overall effectiveness of the school has declined and is now inadequate. It says the school has found it difficult to replace skills lost through redundancies, and this is compounded by difficulties in recruiting staff to teach specific specialist subjects. Other criticisms include that girls and higher ability students are making insufficient progress. It says mathematics and science subjects are weak at Key Stage 4, with too many students failing to attain the very highest grades they're capable of in their GCSE exams. Finally, it says too much teaching is lacklustre and not good enough to ensure that all students achieve as well as they should. A statement from Trafford Council this morning said while it was regrettable that the school had been put in special measures, decisive steps had been taken to make sure the situation improved as quickly as possible. They added it's important to recognise that examination results at the school are extremely good, and all of this gives significant encouragement for the future. 2 teenage boys are appearing before magistrates today, charged over alleged plans to cause explosions at a school and a shopping centre in Greater Manchester. The boys are aged 16 and 17 years old and are from Denton. Both have been charged with conspiracy to cause an explosion, and the 17-year-old has also been charged with possession of indecent images. Detectives were alerted when a friend of the boys went to the authorities with his concerns after the pair had allegedly told him what they were about to do. Police seized computers and uncovered details of the alleged plot. We'll have more on this in our early evening news at 5. A teenager has been honoured after she saved her twin's life, and she puts it all down to her so-called sixth sense. Gemma Horton, who's 15, performed CPR on her sister Leanne after spotting her unconscious and drowning in the bath at their home in Atherton. Gemma, who said she suddenly got a feeling to check on her sister, has been commended by ambulance bosses. Now, dozens of young people have been demanding better job prospects this morning. It follows a march in Wigan at the weekend where workers rallied against job cuts there. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, Beverly Walkden reports from Baskerville House Job Centre here in the city centre.
Low-key protests like this could become a common sight as unemployment rises and more people are forced onto benefits. This group of demonstrators are fighting for the rights of young people to find jobs with decent pay. They plan to take their campaign to London on April the 4th and join in with other demonstrators around the country.
Yeah, obviously we're collecting signatures for our campaign, the Youth Fight for Jobs campaign, which was set up to highlight the fact that it is young people, young workers who are exceptionally have to suffer because of the recession that is happening at the moment. We feel that it is young people and young workers who have to ride out quite a lot of the recession, and basically what we demand is the right for young people to work, and not just any odd jobs, not just unpaid apprenticeships or anything like that. What we demand is decent minimum wage, £8 an hour for everyone, and decent working conditions.
Over the weekend there was a bigger protest in Wigan over job cuts.
Wigan council workers under attack in terms of their national conditions of service, and also face potential cuts of 4 or 5 grand in their wages. But of course other workers, throughout the country are facing attacks because of the recession, and the real real sort of theme we want to get over, the real main message we want to get over today is that workers shouldn't pay for the recession, and we hope this will be a start sort of to kick off, more resistance to attacks on wages and jobs.
Statistics suggest there's 20 applicants for every job, a situation that's going to get worse before it gets better. Beverly Walkden for Channel M News.
And as I was saying, that protest followed a jobs rally in Wigan over the weekend.
Wigan Unison have called for a demonstration here in Wigan. Wigan council workers are under attack in terms of their national conditions of service. And the real sort of theme we want to get over, the real main message we want to get over today is that workers shouldn't pay for the recession. And we hope this will be a start sort of to kick off, more resistance to attacks on wages and jobs.
I'm here for exactly the reason it says on the leaflet, which is to stand up and be counted, and to say that we won't accept job cuts, wage restraints and privatisation anymore.
What we need now is new public banks, publicly owned and financed, owned by the people, run for the people. No more Labour fat cats.
A man's fighting for his life after he was stabbed in Newton Heath over the weekend. The 19-year-old was knifed on Oldham Road following a row with another man. He's in a critical condition in hospital with stab wounds to his back and chest. And a 70-year-old man has been left with head injuries after an assault in Gorton. He was beaten up outside the Crown pub on Gorton Lane in the early hours of Saturday morning. He suffered serious cuts, but the injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. Now, there's some potentially good news for blind and visually impaired people in Manchester, as the City Council is taking part in a trial scheme aimed at improving the safety of pedestrian crossings. Here's Nina Warhurst with more.
Ron has been blind since he was 7 and says crossing roads safely is a daily challenge. You may not have noticed, but many crossings currently have a revolving cone under the control box. When the green man appears, the cone moves, and people who are blind or have hearing difficulties then know that it's safe to cross. But the current scheme does have some limitations.
It's very small, it's fairly small, and it's cylindrical with probably little ridges down the length of it, which aren't really very noticeable. So it's a danger that when it does spin with a glove on, you may not notice it straight away. In fact, you probably may not notice it at all.
And if it takes a few seconds to ascertain whether the green man is on, that's valuable time, really, isn't it?
Well, especially with the glove on, as I say, you get a vibration more than a feel of it turning, and yes, you're losing time, especially on a crossing like this, where there's 3 or 4 roads coming into it.
Now, the council is taking part in a trial scheme for the Transport Research Laboratory, and on a handful of crossings, new cones have been fitted, which are bigger and with a much more distinctive shape.
Well, the new ones are an improvement. They've got like 4 wings off them at the different points, north, south, east and west. They could possibly be a little bit bigger, though, because they too are on the small side, and probably if they were slightly larger, they'd be probably more noticeable to some people. I've got my gloves on here, and I can feel it turning straight away. So, are we going over?
Yeah.
So we then cross.
So was that really easy to feel through your gloves?
That was easy to feel through my gloves. Okay. And they're quite substantial gloves.
The scheme is being trialled in 6 areas nationwide, and researchers are looking for feedback from local blind people. The hope is that they'll be given much more confidence crossing the roads, but Ron says that'll only be possible when every road is made safe, and that is a long way off. Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
More Greater Manchester news in just a moment, but first, air accident investigators are trying to work out what caused a plane to crash, killing 14 people, many of them children. The passengers were on a ski trip when the single-engine aircraft crashed in Montana in the United States last night. It nosedived just 500 feet from the runway, hitting the ground in a cemetery and bursting into flames. It's not clear yet whether a distress call was made by the pilot. Back here, the family of Jade Goody is finalising plans for her funeral as tributes flood in from the public. The Big Brother reality TV star died yesterday at her home in Essex after a very public battle with cancer. She's been praised for raising awareness of cervical cancer, with more women now coming forward for tests after she was diagnosed. The publicist Max Clifford has said that Jade had been planning the funeral service before her death and says it will be very much a Jade Goody production. A government minister insists that he didn't break any rules by claiming a parliamentary allowance to pay the mortgage on the house where his parents live. The Employment Minister, Tony McNulty, has received an estimated £60,000 for the property in his London constituency since 2001 and says he will not return the money, but confirmed that he has since stopped claiming the second home allowance. Manchester's town hall clock has been switched off this morning and will stay like that for most of the week. The hands of the famous timepiece have been set to 12 o'clock while essential work is carried out. With more on this, here's James Webster.
Well, this is pretty much as close as we get to making time stand still, really. Whenever you look up at the town hall clock this week, it's going to be saying 12 o'clock, and that's because engineers need to stop this mechanism behind me so they can carry out some repairs on it. In charge of those repairs is Keith Scobie-Youngs, who's with me now. Keith, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, just tell us what exactly is wrong with the clock at the moment.
The clock actually is in very good condition. Mechanically, we've been working on it over the last few years. The last section we've got to deal with is the drive shaft, which connects the clock movement to the 4 dials outside, and it's the only section we haven't seen to, and we have experienced 1 or 2 little hiccups over the last few months, and we've decided that we should come to grips with it and get it done before it causes any major breakdown.
How difficult a job is it?
In theory, it's not any different from repairing your local church clock, apart from the size. Compared to a 4 or 5 foot dial, we're dealing with 16 feet dials. The rod is very long. I think it's coming on to 50 odd feet in length, and the size and the weight involved. But apart from that, if we approach it in the right way, we should be fine.
It must be a privilege getting to work on a clock like this one.
Without any doubt whatsoever. I think it's one of the only very few clocks of this size in the country. It's incredibly well made and a very prominent one. So I think we all from the company feel very privileged and happy to be doing such work.
OK, Keith, thank you very much indeed for that. You know, the piece of kit that they're going to be working on here, very little's had to be done to it since 1882. And all being well, if this work goes to plan, come the weekend when we're all putting our clocks forward for British summertime, the Town Hall clock should once again be keeping good time. James Webster, Channel M News.
Right, let's take a look at the sport headlines now. Here's Mike Bradley.
Thank you, Ben. And the world of rugby league is in shock today following the death of Wakefield's Leon Walker, who collapsed during a reserve game in Maesteg yesterday. Leon was airlifted to hospital but pronounced dead upon arrival. Aged 21, the second rower spent 3 years with Salford City Reds, where he earned representative honours with England and Yorkshire, and our thoughts are with all those concerned with the tragedy. Now the Premier League title race is back on once again following United's defeat against Fulham and Liverpool's 5-1 defeat over Aston Villa. For United, it's the first time they've recorded back-to-back league defeats for 4 years, and their day was made worse following red cards for Paul Scholes and Wayne Rooney. City, meanwhile, they're up to 10th following their 1-0 win over Sunderland, and we'll have highlights from both those games in our news bulletin from 5 o'clock. Now a little further down the football pyramid, Curzon Ashton were in Unibond action against Ossett Albion, and here's a quick look at how things panned out.
It's a battling performance. The pitch is a little bit difficult. It's dry and bouncy, and there's quite a wind going down the pitch, and it's just been a scruffy game, hasn't it? And we've battled hard enough. You know, we're patched up. We've got a lot of players out, and you know, they've battled and got a result.
Perfect time to score goals right at the end of the first half and right at the start of the second.
Yeah, it always helps. You know, it changes your half-team talk, and then the second goal gives you a breather and it gives them a bit of a mountain, really.
Mm-hmm. Did you think it was over when you scored the second? Because they didn't really offer too much, did they, in the second half?
Yeah, I just felt, like you said, there wasn't an awful lot coming from them today, and I thought with a bit more care, composure, we probably could have scored a couple more, but we'll take the win because we've had a tough time of late, and we'll take the win.
Goals from Haseem Dean and Nathan Cartman earning Curzon the 3 points. Our Sale Sharks season continues to go from bad to worse, and yesterday they slumped to another defeat, this time going down 38-20 at the Stoop against Harlequins. Charlie Hodgson scoring all the points for the Sharks. And there were mixed fortunes for the Manchester Phoenix too, as they went down 6-3 against the Edinburgh Capitals on Saturday, but bounced back to beat the Belfast Giants 4-3 yesterday in a game which also doubled up as the first leg of this season's Knockout Cup final. Now, Manchester City have just announced plans to slash prices for their UEFA Cup quarter-final against Hamburg. Prices for children starting at £1 and adults from £5. However, the offer is only valid until March the 29th. United's Ben Foster, he's been called into the England squad ahead of games against Slovakia and the Ukraine, and he'll join up with teammates Rio Ferdinand, Michael Carrick, Wayne Rooney and City's Sean Wright-Phillips. And once again, England's cricketers have underperformed in the West Indies and lost the second one-day test in Guyana by 21 runs. That's it from me for now, but please try and tune in at 5 o'clock when we'll have football highlights from the Premiership, the Championship, League One and League Two, and we'll also be hearing from Lancashire's Jim Coombs.
That's all with Andy Crane from 5 o'clock. Still ahead on the Lunchtime News, goblins and dragons in Bolton.
Hello, I am Goblin Queen. I come from land of Gobley. We come to human land to find me nice human husband.
Welcome back to Channel M's Lunchtime News. We're here every day between 12 and 1 with all Greater Manchester's headlines, and you can always check out our reports online at channelm.co.uk. On there right now, a plan to teach footballers road safety, and the Shadow Chancellor George Osborne warns taxes will rise to deal with the recession. That's all at channelm.co.uk. Back to our top story this lunchtime, and a top school in Greater Manchester has been put into special measures after becoming the first grammar school in the country judged to be failing its pupils.
Stretford Grammar School's leadership and management have been severely criticised in a report by Ofsted. Last year, it was one of the best performing schools in Trafford, with 95% of its pupils getting at least 5 A-star to C grades in their GCSEs. But inspectors say it's now failing to provide an adequate education for its 755 students. In a damning report issued following last month's inspection, inspectors say the overall effectiveness of the school has declined and is now inadequate. It says the school has found it difficult to replace skills lost through redundancies, and this is compounded by difficulties in recruiting staff to teach specific specialist subjects. Other criticisms include that girls and higher ability students are making insufficient progress. It says mathematics and science subjects are weak at Key Stage 4, with too many students failing to attain the very highest grades they're capable of in their GCSE exams. Finally, it says too much teaching is lacklustre and not good enough to ensure that all students achieve as well as they should. A statement from Trafford Council this morning said while it was regrettable that the school had been put in special measures, decisive steps had been taken to make sure the situation improved as quickly as possible. They added it's important to recognise that examination results at the school are extremely good, and all of this gives significant encouragement for the future.
More flights are leaving and arriving at Manchester Airport on time, it's been announced this morning. The Civil Aviation Authority, which compiled the study, says there's been a dramatic improvement on the same period last year. Now, what do you think of the area where you live? What's good about it, and what do you feel proud of? Well, there were answers to some of those questions at the launch of a Civic Pride event, and Kevin Duffy was there.
What makes you proud?
Everything about Manchester, and especially our school, Camberwell Park.
Where's that?
It's in Blakely.
I'm proud of the Green of Manchester.
I'm proud that we've got a good community in Burnage. We all work together.
I'm proud about working in Manchester.
I'm proud of the students, obviously because we're a bit biased, but because we are making a huge difference. We're starting to build up a good community spirit, and well, we're trying to clean up our acts.
And that's before you've even started to list all of the famous names, places and achievements for which Manchester is so well known. But on this occasion, it was very much the ordinary folks who were the stars when a Proud of Manchester campaign was launched in the city centre.
I'm proud about everybody who's here today. It's a fantastic turnout. It's shown that people in Manchester are prepared to stand up and say, we've got something to celebrate, and today's the beginning of a year's celebration.
But of course, the city does have its darker corners. And it begs the question, is all of this just a bit too much of a slick PR stunt? Well, that's a question for the politicians.
Well, I think Manchester people are capable of running their own events and activities, so it's not a slick PR event. What it is about people within their neighbourhoods, within their communities saying, we've got something to celebrate, and we've probably got someone to celebrate as well.
Over the next 12 months, events are planned on the theme of caring for neighbours and giving the next generation a good start. Grants are available for community events too. Kevin Duffy for Channel M News.
People living in parts of Greater Manchester are being given the chance to decide how police funding is spent in their community. Community groups in the St Peter's ward of Tameside have been putting forward their bids for £35,000.
I'm here is to put a case forward to obtain a grant towards the replacement of a...
This is something which is called participatory budgeting, and in the hall there we've got lots of local residents, and they're hearing a series of presentations, really which are bids for how some local funding could be used. So this is really trying to involve local people, giving them a sum of money and saying you can make decisions about how that money is then split up amongst local projects.
To this particular community, it's very important because it's the most deprived ward in Tameside, and anything that comes in to help the people who live in St Peter's ward has got to be applauded.
Bolton Town Centre was transformed into a world of fairy tale, magic and myth on Saturday, featuring a goblin queen and her dragon. It was all part of a theatrical performance by the group Circo Rumbaba.
Hello, I am Goblin Queen. I come from land of Gobley. We come to human land to find me nice human husband, nice strong Bolton man, to come and sit on Kieran's egg and hatch dragon. Kieran will speak to you now. Kieran, speak. Kieran says, it is lovely to be here in Bolton, the home of all the humans. Now we must go. I must find me husband to sit on Kieran's egg.
Well, it's been a blustery morning, and with a closer look at the weather now, here's Polly Winder.
Well, I wish I had some better news for you today. That lovely weather that we had last week, that's lovely sunny spells are not here to stay today. It's gone very, very windy, a lot cooler and cloudy indeed. So this morning started off quite a cloudy one. As you can see there, lots of wet weather. That is going to clear during the afternoon to leave us with maximum temperatures today of around 9 and 10 degrees. As we can see there, that rain is across the whole of the Greater Manchester area and temperatures there peaking at 10 degrees. That strong northwesterly wind there coming in and lasting throughout the day. Now this afternoon, we might just see the odd sunny spell across Manchester if we're lucky, but it won't be too warm because of those strong winds. And this evening, starts off quite wet, but then it will clear to leave us with a nice dry evening and minimum temperatures of around 1 degree. Now ahead to tomorrow, pretty similar to today, although temperatures dropping slightly to 8 degrees. Then on Wednesday, we will see some sunshine, again, highs of 8. Warmest temperatures on Thursday, highs of 12 degrees, and Friday, highs of 9 and another cloudy one.
This is Channel M, our top stories this lunchtime. A leading school in Greater Manchester has been put into special measures after becoming the first grammar school in the country judged to be failing its pupils. Stretford Grammar School's leadership and management has been severely criticised in a report by Ofsted. Last year it was one of the best performing schools in Trafford, but inspectors say it's now failing to provide an adequate education for its 755 students. A teenager has been honoured after she saved her twin's life, and she puts it all down to her sixth sense. Gemma Horton, who's 15, performed CPR on her sister Leanne after finding her unconscious and drowning in the bath at their home in Atherton. Those are today's headlines, and that was the Lunchtime News. Andy Crane will be back with a roundup of the day's stories from 5. Join him then if you can, but from me and everyone here on the Lunchtime News, thanks for watching. Goodbye.